Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with our, animal, I got to call her animal psychic, animal communicator. She's all the above. She's an empath. She's also an amazing woman. She does Reiki. She's a Reiki master. And she's here to work with us today to talk more about how she can help you and, of course, connect with your little loved ones. TerriePathic, we call her. Terrie Matz. Welcome back to the show today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well.
Great. Pleasure to have you back. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about you and your services?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Terrie, and I'm an animal communicator and Reiki master. I do a lot of energy work, and I help the relationships between owners and their little furry loved ones. And what I'd like to talk today about is end of life and how an animal communication can help let you know what the animal's wishes are, and it helps you make the decision and take the burden off of you when you know what their wishes are. And I also do Reiki. So Reiki helps them with the transition. It helps them with surgery, any kind of inflammation or stress, anxiety, that type of thing. And it helps with humans also. So you can know more about me through TerriePathic.com.
And I was going to say spell it. Yep. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure. TerriePathic.com, or you can email me at TerriePathic@gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, for today, what did you have in mind for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So I get a lot of phone calls when it's end of life and they're not sure what their animal would like them to do. We do our best as far as the care that we give our furry ones. And a lot of times we make decisions by what we would want to be done to ourselves if we were in that position. So sometimes our emotions of wanting them to be there all the time can get in the way too of knowing what their wishes are if they choose to want to cross over. So a couple signs just as an animal that they could give you is they could start to refuse to eat and drink. Now that could also mean other things, but usually it's in conjunction with other signs. They could stop taking their medicine, even though all along they've been taking it. They could want to just crawl somewhere or walk somewhere off and hide. So they try to give you signs as an animal because they don't want you to feel stressed or anxiety over them. So a lot of times they try to take that burden off of you. But yeah, it's just knowing what they would want to happen in a certain circumstance. So reaching out to an animal communicator, they can let you know what's going on. I just had somebody whose animal was unfortunately had cancer, and she was going through treatment, and it just got to the point where she wasn't progressing. She was going the opposite, and she wanted the animal to pass on her own, but she was hanging on for some reason, and the owner wanted to know why she was still hanging on, like there was a message that she wasn't getting. So she reached out to me, and her dog was with her through so many different situations in life that she wanted to have the reassurance that she would be okay without her. So that's where we can come in the situation and comfort the animal to let them know after we ask the owner, how you feel about them leaving, so that they truly understand that they are okay if they would like to leave. And then she just asked if she could have some pain medicine because she was in considerable pain and couldn't get rested enough in order to fall asleep and pass. So that was her wishes, and that's what the owner had did. And it was just a matter of an hour and a half or so, and she crossed over. So a lot of times it's knowing that the animal whether they want to cross over, do they want a little bit more time? And when you have that second guess, because you are involved in the situation with emotions, you sometimes don't see the signs, and that's okay, because it's just like being in a room and you hear something fall in the next room, and you go to the person aside of you, did you hear that? And they said no, but yet you go over to the next room and you see that something did fall off the wall. It's the same thing. Sometimes you see the sign or hear the sign, and other times you don't. So it's always good to have somebody that you can lean on, um, to find out what their wishes are during that time frame.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully you discuss it ahead of time as an adult. Some people don't, but as an animal, it's harder to communicate
Yeah,
that.
it
Mm,
is. It is. And a lot of times you can, when you're close with an animal, you can ask them, because they understand the human language. And a lot of times if you look into their eyes, they will try to pull on your heartstring to intuitively tell you what they would like to happen. But yeah, sometimes the emotions do get in the way, and I totally understand that. But some of the things that you can do ahead of time is, like Kira, a lot of times, like, I cook for them. So if there's a time where they want turkey, or they want beef, um, and I'm away, my husband, I taught Kira to blink once for yes, or
mhm.
I'll use a can for turkey and another can for beef, and that way they know which one to tell Pete that they want, even though their food isn't in the can. But it's a training that you can give your animal. So when you do ask them the question, blink once for yes, are you ready? And they do the blink. That's another way that you can proactively be able to communicate with your animal by using other tools. And then when it comes time to asking that particular question, they'll be able to answer you. So, um, but it also makes life easier in other ways of life, as far as, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And they'll have that choice, and have the freedom to choose, because everybody has free will. So do animals. So they have a
Mhm.
choice on whether or not they want the left or the right, or they want to go outside, do they want to play inside, type thing. And um, yeah, it's just finding those avenues of being able to communicate with your animal for their wishes.
Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, it's so sad, but it's not, because I know that it's
I
eternal and they're
know.
okay, but it's so
I
hard to
know.
lose. It's so hard
I
to
know.
lose, like on this in this world, like my mom. And I just think about my cat, and I think about everyone I've lost. And I'm sorry, my scrunchie is killing my head. I got one of these like fake hair things on, and it's in the wrong spot. So don't mind me. It hurts. So it's so hard to let go, but
It
we have
is.
to.
It is.
But
And
you're the one who lets us know for sure it's really okay, right? Because they're going somewhere that could you explain it?
yeah, so over the rainbow, I mean,
Hmm.
they're on a spiritual journey just like humans are. They come here on Earth uh, contractually, so they're looking to teach, they're looking to learn, and when they cross over, they are now with their spirit guides and going over what happened in that particular body on Earth. Um, and preparing whether they decide to stay in spirit, or they determine whether they would like to reincarnate and come back. They do have that option. 30 to 40% do come back. Others just remain in spirit. So it just depends on their spiritual journeys, and sometimes their last journey here on earth is to be a spirit guide, so they're looking for another animal to contract with so that they can become their spirit animal, their
Wow.
spirit guide. So um yeah, it's it's they want their owners to know that
Hmm.
it's peace, it's
Yeah.
love. There's no pain on the other side. And a lot of times, the things that we hold on to as humans it's because we're in an earthly body and have the emotions of what happens here on earth, but some of the emotions don't happen on the other side. So we have the guilt and the pain and the burden of sometimes making that decision, not knowing if we made the right decision. And when we ask the animals that are on the other side, they want nothing but love and happiness and allowing their owner to celebrate them home rather than be in pain. And I know that's the most difficult thing to get over. um, I know that feeling. It is. It's just so when your soul mourns for an animal because you've just loved them so much, but know that they are still
Aw.
alive. You know, that's just their shell, that their body that had passed, but they are still alive. They're still living, and they still visit. They still communicate. And there's different ways that they come back and communicate. It can be through showing you a feather. It could be through electronics, light flickering, or a radio starts, or a song comes on that only you and your animal will know. Maybe you
Mhm.
dance together or something. Some kind of memory that was
I
triggered by it.
well, see, I told you I lost my cat of 13 years. His name is Cuddles in September, right? And now I have an 8 and 6 year old, and they keep asking for another cat. So ironically, yesterday I drove back to where he was born. I used to live in an apartment building, and he was born outside in the woods. And I know there's still stray cats there. So yesterday after football practice, I drove my little one there, and just like timing in a sense, there's a woman there feeding the stray cats near the dumpsters, and I saw my old neighbors. They said go in the back. Turns out we saw a black and white cat, and the mother cat. Now this is the same place I used to live so many years ago, right? Which is ironic because it's like, oh my god. And then there's a cat that looks like my old cat Cuddles, but maybe it's like a descendant of Cuddles, because I look at the eyes, and too feral for us obviously, but this woman says yeah, they're too aggressive out here, but they may have kittens, you never know, keep coming back. But I looked at this cat yesterday, and I'm like, it's got to be like a sibling or a grandparent. What is it? Because if Cuddles was 13, can't be the mother, but I'm like, I felt like it was connected to my cat. Any,
Mhm.
you sensing that?
Yeah, I mean, they will pull at your heartstring. There was a reason why you stopped there.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
obviously there was a message for you to come back,
So I didn't pick up a
So
cat yesterday, but I still got to see another cat that resembled my cat, which may be a descendant of
yeah,
my old cat. But I told my son, if there's a cat that needs us, it's going to come to us. So, you never know. Let's just go here and see, or there'll be something on the side of the road, or needs help one day. Yeah. So.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's no such thing as coincidence. So just know that you were in the right place at the right time of the message that you were supposed to get. So always listen to your heart, because when you're being pulled to a certain location or a certain place just to go visit or talk to somebody, there's a message in that. There's a reason why you were drawn to that area, and it might not be so clear at that particular moment, but it will down the road definitely surface as far as what the meaning of it was. But yeah, it's pretty amazing when you can sit quietly and just really truly go by what your heart's desire is, and try to stay out of your mind, because the mind sometimes, even though we need it, it sometimes messes up the the purpose and the desire of the avenue and the right path, as long as you can live in your heart. So
So beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. All right. So what else? Let's remind everyone, of course, how we can contact you, Terrie.
So you can reach me through my website at TerriePathic.com, TerriePathic.com, or TerriePathic@gmail.com.
Perfect. Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
as an animal communicator, just I know you because we've done so many shows together, but some people, maybe new time listeners, to know how it works. How do they reach out to you? How did you get chosen to be someone that they communicate with?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I've always been connected with animals, but I was also an empath and didn't realize that's what I am. And I didn't have anybody to really describe it to me. I was just a very extremely sensitive kid. And um, growing up, you know, kids can be cruel. So, I put a wall up, and eventually, as I got older, that wall started to come down with letting people in and letting other animals in. And it was our parrot Daisy who actually taught me why I'm here. And she was in the hospital for 30 days, and the vet couldn't figure out what was going on with her. She got sick. She was only 3. Um, Actually, she was almost 3. She was a couple weeks prior to her 3rd birthday, but um, she was such a tiny little creature that they couldn't do many tests and many blood tests all at the same time, because taking blood was a lot for a parrot. So, and it stresses them out. So over a 3-week period, they were doing different tests. But every time I would go in the hospital, I would feel nauseous, feel like I had the flu, a lump in my throat, the different symptoms that I didn't realize were actually Daisy's, but I coughed it up as you're in your mind and not your heart. It's air quality of the hospital that she was in. And after she had passed is when I realized that they all went away. So uh, then when she had passed, I also felt her presence. And that's what I realized, or that's when I realized that there's more to this than what I really even know. I grew up uh, part Amish Mennonite, and then I went to Baptist. So, different things in different religions. And yet I didn't understand the spiritual side of things. So, um, and now as I grow in my journey, I consider myself more of a spiritual person than I do a religious person. And um, it's just realizing that you're not crazy. You're feeling energy, because we are all energy. And the energy is where you can communicate with animals in body, in spirit. It's getting to that vibration. So everything, including trees, flowers, bushes, animals, that we're all vibrating. So it's just a matter of getting to that vibration and hearing. And they use all your senses, so you can feel, see, hear, smell, different things that they want you to be able to communicate to them through. So every animal communicates a little bit differently too. So it's just like us. I'm more of a feeling person. That's the first thing that I pick up on, is feelings. But others are more audio. Others are more visual. So same thing with animals. They communicate according to what is their strong point. So as an animal communicator, your first messages are usually things that you're strong in. And as you do them, it opens up all your senses so that you're able to translate what your animal is trying to tell you, according, whatever the situation is that they need to communicate with you.
Any recent stories that you want to share that are just like eye-opening for us? And
Um, I did have a horse recently that um, she actually, it's one of those things. She was training for competition, and she couldn't figure the rider couldn't figure out what was going on, because she was just not acting herself. Um, And here what ended up happening was, and she also didn't like her blacksmith. So one thing that she did tell me was that the blacksmith had hurt her on her back right hoof. So when I said that to the owner, she realized that, yeah, it is a little tender for her, but sometimes they don't pick up what exactly is the matter with them. And then she noticed that the next time that she came, the blacksmith came, the horse didn't like the blacksmith anymore. So that was one. She also had different areas in her back that were giving her issues. So they ended up getting a chiropractor out. They have a lot of back issues that sometimes show up in other areas, like they might not be able to turn one way but can turn another. They don't like the saddle put back on them. So there's different things that they try to tell their owners, and yeah, they do get that they're trying to tell them something, but they can't pinpoint where it's at in order to know who to call out. So a lot of times they'll give me a call and find out specifically what's going on. Another one was they didn't like the change in grain, and it was actually creating bloat. And thank God that they were able to catch it in time, because that can be very detrimental to a horse. So that was another thing. Trying to think of what else recently, even on Reiki. I mean, I just did an animal, a cat that was taken from, or was adopted from a shelter, and she would just hide all the time, hide under the bed, and would come out once in a while for dinner. And like if it wasn't enticing them to come out, then she wouldn't come out at all. So I did a Reiki treatment on her, along with a communication, to let her know that she's in a forever home. She's okay. And they too, she had a background where she was feral as a kitten. She had to fend for herself. There were other cats, and she recalls going for garbage to eat, and a gentleman coming out and saying, skedaddle. And not that he did anything to them, but as a little kitten, it scared her. So she was scared of humans because of that. So knowing and telling her that she was okay, she was able to trust the humans that she's with. She's very loved, and just needed to break down that barrier too, which is where Reiki can actually come in handy, which it did. It helped to release the block that she had in her heart chakra, along with her root chakra, because root is where the fear, stability, family, relationships are stored. The heart had to do with all of the emotion that was, being scared, being nervous, being anxious. So releasing those two areas were of help to her. So now she goes out and she plays with her current mommy, and has an amazing life, and she still goes in her little cage a little bit, but with time it will slowly release and get more and more and more, and that's what's happening. So it's something that doesn't happen immediately. You will find or see changes, but it does take a process of a few days to see what, with the release of the energy and the flow of the energy, is starting to heal their body naturally. It just takes a couple of days to see truly what the change is on their behavior or their health issues. But yeah, it's been great. It's been
All
a great
right.
journey.
Thank you, Terrie. We are just about out of time. Would you mind sharing how we could reach you?
Sure. My name is Terrie, and I'm from TerriePathic.com, TerriePathic.com. And you can also email me at TerriePathic@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here again, as
Yeah,
always.
thank you.
And we'll connect next week. Were you back on?
Yeah,
Oh, wait, I think I'm
absolutely.
off next week. I'm not here next week, but I don't know if you'll be with someone else or I'll see you the week after.
Okay,
All
sounds
right. Thank
great.
you so much, Miss Terrie. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye,
Take care.
hon. Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.